Greetings and salutations everyone, I'm Ekamac and this is me wrapping up Persona 5 The Phantom X. Yeah, I just can't keep going with this game, so I figured I might as well cut it at this point. And because I have a lot of thoughts that I want to make sure I get out before I wrap up the project, I actually wrote them all down right here, so I'll be reading through it and putting up appropriate footage from my playthrough on the screen. So let's start off with the things that the game does well. For a start, Lufel. Lufel is better than Morgana, not even in pull punches. Lufel doesn't have the lusting for Anne or the bickering with Ryuja, he actually gets along with Matoha. Now granted there's nothing quite stand out about their conversations, but I prefer a mostly neutral relationship to a frustrating to watch one. And, well, this is a personal thing, I quite enjoy giving him the evil butler voice. With some of the expressions it just feels fantastic. Unfortunately, this is the Let's Play that showed me that the audio editing that I do actually makes it completely indistinguishable from my normal voice, so that's unfortunate. But whatever, right? And then there's Matoha. I feel like she's a good mix of Ryuji and Anne. When we consider Persona 5 with Kamoshida R, it actually has to split the character development between Ryuji and Anne because they both join at roughly the same time. Matoha doesn't have to share her development with other characters, so it just feels like she can get fleshed out better. I feel like she got put to better use than they did in their respective arc. Now that said, she does have a synergy and I was never able to unlock that, but still I feel like what I did get to see was pretty good. So I've been trying very hard and failing not to think about the fact that Tomoko does actually have a future synergy. I have her Phantom, I've been trying not to think about it, I've seen the I've seen the synergies bar, I've been trying not to think about how she's right next to Matoha there. But that said, I feel like just the fact that she has a future synergy puts her above Shiho. I'm sorry, but the thing is, Shiho, they didn't need much to make you care about when she throws herself off the roof. But there's also nothing more to Shiho besides that. Knowing that Tomoko would have had her own social link is something that, like, I always wanted a Shiho social link and never got it. So yeah, they had the potential to do better with her than what would have happened with Shiho. And there's also the scene of Matoha coming to visit her. We never got anything like that for Shiho. There are problems with that scene, but I feel like that's at least one positive. The system with phantoms, I think that's pretty cool actually. As I said before, it's kind of like the identity system with Limbus Company. Like getting to see phantom defaultments of people we see in the real world. It serves a few purposes. One, it's cool, it gives us more of that character, but it also does an almost decent job of fudging the fact of whether we'd be getting these people as actual Phantom Thief party members or not. Although granted, that wouldn't last if you paid attention during the introduction cutscene, but I can at least give them points for the effort. Just wish it wasn't in a gacha. This one is something that I dislike, but I think is a positive. Whenever you have to answer questions in social life segments, you actually get full points no matter what your answer is. Now for me, I hate looking like an idiot, so the fact that it's hard to find the actual answers to these annoys me. But I think the fact that we don't have to worry about this extra element of efficiency helps out the game quite a bit with these daily social life segments. Actually, my thoughts aren't exactly in order here, they just put them down in whatever I went through. Phantom Thief designs? I think all of them are great designs. They look like they would be in an actual Persona game, which I suppose technically this is, but not the point. I didn't get to see all of them though, and the problem is you're probably not going to see all of them because you're going to stick to a specific few because of the stinginess of the leveling system here. We'll get back to that when I get to the negatives. Kyuchi. I think they fleshed him out better as a starter villain than Kamoshida. Kamoshida has this just throwaway line at the end that maybe is an attempt at getting sympathy points, but it just absolutely falls flat. We don't know why Kamoshida is like this, we just know he is. But we know why Kyuchi is like this. We don't agree with it, but we understand it. In terms of synergies, Anderson should have been a synergy. Fight me. I think Yui was probably my favorite of the synergies I got to see. And it is kind of a disappointment that I won't get to see all of it. And then my final positive point is the Shadow Kyuchi boss fight. Specifically the music. I think the music, it is an original track, and I think it actually is great. Now we have to get into the much more extensive list of bad points. I think the gacha mechanics just actively drag down every part of this game. Not a single one of them is making me think, man, I'm glad this gacha game is a gacha game. So here's it. The first biggest problem with the gacha system? They split character growth into two different gacha roulettes. You've got the weapon growth and you've got the character. You have to get extra copies of the character in order to get their personal talent leveled up. And then you've got the weapons, and it just feels like so much is being held back there. It is and yet, if you look at the chances for these, they're absolutely stupidly low. And there's nothing like ego shards, you just have to keep throwing it until it decides to give you a pity pool. And the thing is, they do not give you many pulls for free, but we'll get to that. Then there's the Realm of Repression, which is the daily resource grind. There's just so many different methods of growth tied to Realm of Repression, it's hard to tell if you're falling behind. But because the character level scales up very quickly, you're going to unlock the higher tiers way before you're ready for them all. Ready to do them without being completely frustrated with it. Like, when you go through 10, it goes up every 10 levels. And I was at something like level 55 by the end of this, and I've barely made it through the first chapter. It's scaled way too quickly. I think it should scale slower, but give out better rewards. I just don't get the same level of fun that I get from fine-tuning teams for the Realm of Repression like I do the Limbus Company. The energy recharge rate for Realm of Repression is garbage. They gave out a lot of extra copy aids at the start of the game, which probably disguises just how stingy the energy for this is. It doesn't help that there are dailies tied to specific Realm of Repression stuff. And it's all very confusing resources. It's just annoying. It felt like I was getting tons right at the start, but then when I got to around the level 50s, that's when suddenly the brakes got slammed. Getting new personas for Wonder? It feels gimmicky and confusing. And it's also something tied to Realm of Repression. Just like those cards that I never really understood. But if you don't get Wonder's personas tuned up and unlock the new ones, then you will fall behind because there are hard level caps on personas. You can't make your level 99 pixie like you could in the normal games. The Velvet Trials are another annoyance. Like, at the start it's not so bad, but when you get to some of the later ranks, then they demand that you have 2 or more teams. Like, you can't share team. You have one set of enemies defeated by one set of personas on Wonder and 3 Phantom Thieves. Then you need an entirely different set for the second round. Like, I don't recall losing them, but they felt unnecessarily harsh. And you have to do this if you want to level up Wonder. A feel like the party member versatility is something that just doesn't work here. Probably because of the lowest skill caps, but you don't see them having things like Tarukaja or Marakukaja. So that ends up being stuff that Wonder has to do. Like, maybe if you squint you could say that it is actually being done by the characters, it's just under different names so you don't notice. But I didn't see any Deikaja or Deikunda, and Deikaja is a very important spell to have. Oh, something not listed but I find very frustrating. I couldn't find any revival items. What the heck, game? Anyway, it feels like too much is gated by main story progression. Specifically for daily life excursions, I ran out of places to take my synergies because there's just so few places I can visit. And I feel like to be honest, if I went back into the game now and did the Matoha visit, then I'd probably be unlocking a lot from being able to go to Shinjuku, but I'm not going back to this game, plain and simple. The castle event that was running while I was playing, I feel like by the end of it, the maximum level was just too high. Raja and those in that one boss encounter guarding a chest, those were unfairly high level. I had to go over time in grinding in Realm of Repression to catch everyone up, but as a consequence I ended up curb stomping Kyuchi. It wasn't fair to put that in so early when you've got a bunch of new players who frankly won't have no better, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I feel like it should have had its maximum level reduced by 10 or 20. This wasn't meant to be challenging, this was meant to be a fun little excursion. Kyuchi is... oh wait, no. Before I go into that one battle mission, defeat the last two enemies with gun attacks, was not nice. A, because they weren't very clear on what you were supposed to do, but also because, well, they level locked most of the party for that. That just wasn't fair because it didn't make it clear that it was supposed to be using your standard gun attacks and not gun damage. But also, I can't tell whether I've failed it or not. The only thing more frustrating than that is the Hatred and Despair event in Limbus Company. I felt those missions were particularly nasty, but at least that has an engaging combat system. This game doesn't. Now, talking about Kyuchi, unfortunately, while I think that they've developed him better as a villain, he just wasn't as good a villain. He felt like a cut below Kamoshida. Although maybe it's because Kamoshida's moral event horizon occurs before we get into the palace properly. For Kyuchi, we weren't really sure about whether we wanted to take his heart, even though we were right there at the point where we could take his treasure, until we stopped to talk to Noge. And I feel like Luful should have been upfront about whether it could hurt them and to find your resolver and all that. But I'm just... I feel like we should have gotten a lot more... We shouldn't have stopped at the last minute to say, wait, do we really want to do this? In terms of combat, I spent a lot of time yelling at the autoplay. The combat isn't engaging enough for me to do manually. The gacha system makes me feel like I should rush through and just auto-fight everything so I can get more done before I overcap on energy systems. But the autoplay focuses on doing role-based things rather than killing the enemy swiftly. Shun will give the party the HP buff. If I have with Jack Frost, Wonder will swap to using it for Tarukaja instead of the Bufu spells. And basic physical attacks and gun attacks, they just never get used, even on enemies where that would give us the extra attacks. Speaking of which, the extra attacks. One more feels unfairly restrictive. Maybe that's just so it can be easy for the autoplay. I don't know, I don't care. But it was certainly something that the autoplay wasn't very smart with. I don't like how there's a hard limit of 3 personas for Wonder. Maybe that's another victim for the autoplay simplicity, but you have so much that can't be covered with 3 Phantom allies, and then you can only get 3 things on Wonder. There's an awful lot you have to cover, and it just doesn't let you cover it because of the persona limit. It's not fair. The dungeons in general, they're too handholdy. I don't need to think about the puzzles. The game points the right answer out, so that's another thing I'm not getting engaged with. We're almost done, so minor nitpick. I don't like that they made a cute shadow merchant, but then she's for the real money system store. That's kind of baity. And final point, they are way too stingy with the free pulls. The amount of character pulls you can get in other gacha games in the opening chapter, compared with this, it's night and day. And considering that this game has extremely unreasonable pull rates for its phantoms and such, it just makes it feel worse. So yeah, this... in general, and I'm doing this by ad lib, I'm not looking at my notes anymore, I feel like this is an okay Persona game, but it's being heavily drugged down by the gacha elements. There's nothing about the gacha elements, the gacha designs for here, that make it an actually good game. It just makes me unhappy. It wasn't fun to Let's Play. I honestly thought that my first not fun Let's Play would be Slyfall. But no, Persona 5X managed to beat it first. This just isn't fun. That's all there is to it. It's not a fun game. Which is why I'm ending it here. It's a happy note. We managed to stop a menace. Everyone's happy. I don't need to see more of the game. So, yeah, on to new projects, right? Until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.